Happy morning, everyone. Myself Vijayalakshmi, myself Vaishnavi. Gnanam Bandha. This means knowledge is bondage. It suggests that if one is attached to their knowledge or is bound by their knowledge, it can limit their ability to learn new things and gain further knowledge. We come together not just for an event, but for the celebration of human connection and the pursuit of a greater purpose. A warm welcome to each and every one of you present there. Let's start this movement with the prayer song. I like to welcome Spandana and Varshita.
श्रीकारणे श्रीनिवासने शेषाद्रिगिरिवास श्रीरमणने श्रीचक्र श्रीशङ्खभूषितने आत्माय देहाय आराधने करुवा कलियुग दैवा पाप विनाशया लघुमिय मनवा कलकुतलिरुव श्री वेंकटेश भद्राद्रि रामनैवने मधुरा पुरुषामनैवने शरणादि कुन्ददिकायोनि दामया श्रीकारणे श्रीनिवासने गिरिवास श्रीरमणने श्रीचक्र श्रीशङ्खभूषितने आत्माय देहाय आराधने श्रीकारणे श्रीनिवासने.
Thank you for the beautiful song, Spandana and Varshita. We are excited to have you here. This will be an opportunity for us to learn from each other and grow each other. Our Anatha Semashu Trust established since 1943 by founder, President Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, called by name Tiruka. He built a huge hospital complex, Dhanvantari Sankirnas, in 1950, Sri Raghavendra Ayurveda Medical College and Hospital, and a pharmacy unit since 2006 and 7. I would like to welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Shripati sir, for this webinar. This webinar is conducted by the Department of Samhita Siddhanta, Sri Raghavendra Ayurveda Medical College, Maladi. We are all gathered here for some purpose. If we are all joining a webinar, would not you want to know why it was being held? What benefits would it provide for you? Then first let us know about Prajna. Prajna is called as enlightenment, intelligence. It is the state of wisdom which is higher than the knowledge obtained by reasoning and inference. Why Prajna? It gives students an opportunity to learn at their own pace and level, provides students a platform to learn through experience. It offers a chance to learn from teachers and peers. Shastram Shastrani Salilam Gunadosha Pravruttaye Patrapekshinyatah Prajna Chikitsartam Vishodaye. Meaning, merits and demerits of weapon, scripture, and water depends upon the person or the receptacle holding it. Thus, the physician should always purify his intellect for the purpose of treatment. Before starting the webinar, I would like to welcome our Shripati sir for lighting the lamp. So I again welcome you all for the webinar. So now let us welcome our college principal, Dr. Sripati sir, to share some words with all of us about this event.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Nagesh sir. So, first of all, I would like to congratulate the Samhita department faculties, Dr. Adarsh, Dr. Vinita, and Mr. Pramod for conducting this webinar. And I wish all the best for their webinar series. So, this will be an good opportunity for the students to get the deeper knowledge of the different scholars all over Karnataka. So today's speaker, Dr. Sri Nagesh, is a professor and HOD in Sri Ayurvedic College, Bengaluru. So I am proud to say that he is my classmate and a roommate in UG and PG. And he is a legend in his uh, Ayurveda field because he has guided number of PG students and UG students, and he has prepared for the many of the students for the different competitions, and who have trained under him, they have got the first places in the national level, and they have awarded because of his guidelines. So today we are having Dr. Nagesh, so we can get his knowledge. It will be helpful for us. So I welcome Dr. Nagesh sir for this webinar, and I request you to continue the next program.
So now I again welcome you all for this webinar. So now let us welcome our thank you sir for your valuable words and warm welcome. Let's take a moment to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Sri Nagesh K.A. sir.
Dr. Sri Nagesh K.A. sir, Professor and HOD, Department of Samhita Siddhanta at Sri College of Ayurvedic Science and Research, Bengaluru. Sir has done UG at A.L.N. Rao Memorial Ayurvedic College, Koppa in the year 2002. He has done MD in Samhita at Dr. B.N.M. Rural Ayurvedic College, Bijapur in the year 2007. He has done MA in Sanskrit from KSOU in the year 2011 to 2013. Sir has completed his PhD in Ayurveda at Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit, Pune in 2017.
Dr. Sri Nagesh sir has extensive clinical experience in handling clinical neurology, clinical orthopedics, headaches, clinical gastroenterology, liver disorders, etc. He has served as physician and volunteer in many medical camps across the state, published articles in renowned national and international journals and newspaper, invited speaker at TV channels, institutions, resource person at various workshops, recognized faculty examiner at the different universities across South India. So let us welcome Nagesh sir.
Should I start now?
Yes, sir.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Is it audible? Is it audible? Dr. Adarsh, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I would like to thank Anatha Sevashrama Trust, Malladihalli, and I saw in the lotus feet of the Guruji. I thank for this opportunity to interact with you regarding importance of learning the Samhita, and I am thankful for Dr. Shripati, the principal, and Dr. Adarsh and all other Dr. Rajshekhar and all other faculties from Department of Samhita and Siddhanta for giving me this opportunity. So let me introduce my speech before the topic before I get into it. The idea came up when I had been as an examiner to your college that regarding Samhita, we need to inspire the students and we must know how important it is in learning Ayurveda because many portion of the Samhita are distributed across different subjects. Then the question arises, why should we study Samhita as a separate subject? And Samhita is an ancient literature of Ayurveda, which is not conventionally it is studied by all the sciences of India. I mean to say that all modern educational methodologies, what they have adopted now, they have come far away from the Indian literatures. But we, from the Ayurveda fraternity, what we are doing is we are not living off the ancient text because our science is the one which has to studied to be studied when we for the practice and all we should be attached to our ancient science as well, and we should go with the conventional systems as well. So when we are studying so many other modern aspects also in our syllabus, but somewhere we have left out our studies of our ancient scriptures. So this is a need of the hour that we must understand why we should understand, we should read and study the samhitas in detail. And for that reason, so I got a request from the department as well as the principal regarding we should be conducting one such an interaction program for the students, that everyone must understand and realize the importance of Samhita, why we should study Samhita and how we should study Samhita and what are the hurdles we face. The topic is Samhita Adhyayan hurdles and solution. But Samhita Adhyayan is not a Samhita Adhyayan 1, Samhita Adhyayan 2 subject. This is about the studying of the Samhita and how to study, why to study, and as well as what are the hurdles our students face during study of Samhita and what are the probable solutions for them. All these points should be discussed. For that reason, that topic was taken by me, and we are going to discuss regarding that. So I will share the PowerPoint. Let me begin with the topic. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Samhita Adhyayana, hurdles and solutions. Like before taking up Samhita Adhyayana, we must know what are the probable hurdles we may face and what our students have faced it and what are the probable solutions for those hurdles. So before beginning with that, let me discuss some of the points where we have to understand the importance of Samhita. Samhita is the one which is a well-formed literature. Varnanam atishayitaha sannidhi samhita sapnaha syat. That means here Samhita is not just about a collection of words or collection of some of the topics. It is about the proper structured arrangement of the topics and the information. So that is what we call it as Samhita, what we are studying now. See, this is a part of the development of Veda only. The development of Veda had happened in 4 different stages. The first one, prime one itself, is the Samhita. So when Samhita is what we are seeing it as Samhita is a very primitive state of that Veda. So Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad, these are the 4 different stages of development of Veda. So collection of sutra, the shlokas, what we have been learning in its primary mode is of literature is called as Samhita. And these sutras or shlokas are arranged in a proper way that they are arranged making into a different adhyaya, and adhyaya inside the adhyaya they are arranged through the different prakaranas, and in that prakarana also in a proper way of arrangement they have made it. At places they have raised question and answered it. So as a whole, the samhitas are in a form of a question and answer from a guru and the shishya. So in that form it is arranged, we call it as samhita. And samhitas are in a padya rupa. It is like a poetic way of explaining the different sutras, so that we call it as samhita. And when they are converted into gadya rupa, perhaps the development of that Veda we just discussed about. So as per the time demands, the change of that padya rupa to the gadya rupa, when it had happened, we call it that change over into gadya rupa, we call it as brahmanas. So every samhita in ancient time had brahmanas of each samhita, and these literary sources from the Brahmana were critically analyzed, discussed like a debate, and also different each points are discussed. The advantages, disadvantages are discussed and critically analyzed, and especially those discussions were happening primarily in the forest. So that level of development are called as aranyakas. And furthermore, the discussions by different schools of thought were added into these the source of informations. We call it as Upanishad, and also the final form of Veda we call it as, and because it is a final form of Veda, we call it as Vedanta. And beyond that Vedanta, there is no further development or the conversion of that information had happened. So we have four stages: Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. So because there are so many systems of health education are available in India, how Ayurveda is different from other systems which demands a Samhita Adhyana. So in modern system, it may be or other Unani system or Siddha system of medicine we have, and also we have homeopathy. So among all these, the uniqueness of Ayurveda is of having a Samhita as a source material. Other systems are primarily focusing on the disease-based treatment, disease, patient disease, and the treatment. So that type of arrangement, those sciences deal with. Unlike Ayurveda, where we speak about the life, and Samhita are the basic literature of Ayurveda, which are including the points which cannot be classified under different subjects. There are certain points like Swabha Uparamavada or like Pada Chatushtaya, Adhyayana Vidhi, Adhyapana Vidhi, which are we don't find it in other subjects of Ayurveda only. So we have 14 departments and 14 subjects we learn during the BMS, where the topics are distributed among different subjects, but there are few points which are not brought under different subjects, which are very important also for our learning. Like Sadhrutta is explained in Swastavrata, we understand it, and different vargas of Aushadha Ahar vargas are learnt in Dravyaguna. And the Aushadha part, we learn it in the Chikitsa, Kaya Chikitsa. But there are few points which are not mentioned also, but are necessary to learn. So those are explained in Samhita only, and how Samhitas are explaining in the same way we have to learn it. And why BMS student should learn Samhita, should read Samhita. As we just now we discussed that there are the topics distributed across different subjects, and when you are studying different subjects, then why should we read Samhita? Why it should not be kept as a reference book alone? Because in modern sciences or many other sciences, the basic textbooks are kept for the reference only. They are not actually kept for actual studies. But here in Ayurveda, it doesn't work like that. We have to read the Samhita itself. Yastu karmasu nishnato dharstya shastra bahishkritah sa satsu pujam napnoti vadham charhati rajatah. In Sushruta, it is explained the person who goes for or gives importance only for the karma, Dharshtyat Shastra Bahishkrita, by his arrogance or ignorance, if he leaves off the Shastra and he focuses only on the karma. That means if we have seen that some people do not come to the class or are not involved in any academic activities, they just are focused towards the practice only. Those who are going to hospitals only and learning the treatments only directly without reading the Shastra. So regarding that, this point is explained. Yastu karmasu nishnataha. The person who is well versed in the karma, Dharstya Shastra Bhishkrata, because of his ignorance and arrogance, if he is living of the Shastra Adhyayana. Sa Satsu Pujam Napnoti Vadam Charhati Rajuta. He is not actually valued and he is not actually into the actual way of study and way of practicing. He is uh, punishable by the Raja because a Vaidya is expected to have a Shastra Gnana prior to the Karma Abhyasa. Hence, because without karma, without Shastra Gnana, if only Karma Abhyasa, if it is focused on, karma should be based on Shastra Adhyana only. Hence, without leaving the Shastra, so by leaving the Shastra, if he goes directly to the karma, then he'll be punishable. Punishable for the reason that he may commit some of the mistakes which are uh, through ignorance it has come. विद्यामतिः कर्मदृष्टिरभ्यास सिद्धिराश्रयः वैद्यशब्दाभिनिष्पत्ताौ अलम् एकैकमप्यतः. So study of Samhita would bring the sensibility and ensure a vision towards the treatment. Like the Shastra will bring a Jyoti, will give the Jyoti, and which enlightens the person with the knowledge, and it makes him eligible for the perception of the knowledge. Hence, Shastra Adhyana should be done. It is not only the practical which you are supposed to go for. We should be having the Shastra Gnana, then we have to go for the Karma Abhyasa. In the same pattern, we have seen the syllabus, framing of the syllabus and all by earlier CCM also, now NCISM also. Initially, the Shastra Abhyasa is given importance. Like Samhita, then you do. Along with that, you are going for the non-lecturers also. Lecturers are also kept, lecturers are also made. So initially, collectively, it is like Shastra Dhyana is properly made, and later we are going for its application part. So Shastra gives us an enlightenment or a jyoti which makes us to understand the Ayurveda. Sahajam buddhim vina shastraja buddhihi ya vainayaki ityabhidhiyate sa na samyak chikitsa samartha bhavati. So a common knowledge or a general knowledge doesn't always work. Without a textual knowledge or without a shastra gnana, if by the common sense also people may treat. Of course, it may work at times, but sahaja buddhim vina shastraja buddhihi. Yeah, Vainayaki Tibidiyate. The Vainayaki Buddhi means it is like the well framed or well perceived knowledge. The Shastra Gnana, which is called as a Vainayaki Buddhi, which is not present when you are using only Sahaja Buddhi. Sa na samyak chikitsa samartha bhavati. So he will not be capable enough to treat when he is dealing with the patient only through his common sense or only through his what he has seen looking around and different doctors he is sitting with and observing, and then he goes directly to do the treatment. It is not actually praised, which is not not actually called as a proper treatment because he has not taken any shastra gnana. So this is important to have a Shastra Jnana prior to going for a practical application of the same. Now, another question which is very commonly observed among our students, should we learn the shloka? Because the Samhitas are explained in the Samskrita shlokas only. Our students, when they are completing the 12th standard, coming directly to the BMS and looking into when they open the Samhita looks completely full of shlokas. Now translations are though they are available, but basic text is completely of shlokas only. At times, our students tend to get scared or confused what I'm actually doing. Am I becoming a doctor or what I'm doing actually? Is it like a literature work I'm doing, and why should I study these Samskrita shlokas? So the question comes, what actually is the importance of shloka? Are they needed to be learnt? Like in first first class, right from the first class only, perhaps our teachers are explaining, introducing the shloka and insisting students to learn shlokas. So shlokas are the poetic way of explaining the subject matter. So they are the units of the Samhita. So the whole Samhita is explained through shlokas only. And shlokas are like, as you know, it is in Samskrita. It is not just a continuous progressive lines written. It is about a proper way of formation of the subject matter, as we discussed now. And also there are certain disciplines followed for framing the subject through the shlokas. Like they follow the chandas, and they follow a proper pattern of explaining one after the other, like in the prakarana, as I said. So shlokas are once it is framed and it is approved and we are reading it, they are actually not changeable, they are actually not modifiable, they are intact and they are time tested, and we are not making any changes in the shloka. We are just understanding the shloka as they have written, because they are all framed after proper analysis and proper method of writing that literature only. And learning shlokas, why should we learn them? Learning shlokas will ensure the proficiency over the subject, and it brings you the command over that topic. If it is asked what are the three doshas, and generally we say that there are three doshas, there is vata, pitta and kapha, we generally say. Instead of saying that, if we speak vayu pittam kavascheti trayo dosha samasatah, like that, if it is answered like this answer looks more proficient than the previously just vata pitta kapha. If we say how, it looks like a simple just answering to the point. So answer should be in a proficient way. That's why Pittam Kapascheti Trayodosha Samasatha, when we make it, it looks more proficient. And also we will never forget any topic when we learn the shloka from that topic. For that reason, we must learn the shloka. Some of the doctors who are good practitioners in front of patients also, when they are narrating their symptoms, when they are narrating their problems, some of our Ayurveda doctors, they chant the shloka in front of them, finding out the symptoms written in that shloka only, and perhaps in the order of the symptoms development also, we can understand through the shloka only. It is not just about the points to be written and we get through exam. It is not that only. Shlokas are not only for the purpose of passing the exam, it will be useful for our clinical practice as well. Just now I said the doctor was chanting the shloka in front of the patient, so he was narrating the symptom and doctor was telling the shloka. Later, when you know the shloka of the Chikitsa Sutra, when we chant it and when we adopt the treatment principle as explained in the shloka, we won't miss even a single point explained in the shloka, as well as we won't miss any single step of treatment when they are explained in the shloka, as explained in the shloka, if we adopt it. For that reason, shloka should be learnt. Now, how to learn the shlokas? In Sushruta Sutrasthana, सहस्रशो ये विमल विपुल बुद्धेरपि बुद्धिम आकुलीकुर्युः किं पुनरल्पबुद्धेः. He questions here that the person who has sufficient plenty of knowledge also sometimes like buddhim akulikuryuhu. So even he may forget it, or he may his knowledge may get masked, his memory may fade away. Kim punar alpabuddhehe, that means those who are having alpabuddhi, what about them? The people who are proficient also, they may have a tendency to forget everything. Then what about the alpabuddhi? Tasmat avashyam anupada pada shloka anuvarnayitam anushrotavyam cha. So how to learn a shloka? Then when the proficient or an expert also can forget when the time passes, what about the alpabuddhi? For that reason, if shlokas are learned, then even the alpabuddhi person also can retain the information in his memory and act accordingly. Tasmat avashyam anupada. We have to identify the pada initially. Pada by pada, we have to read it first. So first we need to identify the pada, then we have to pronounce it properly. We should know where to make sandhi vichcheda, and how to identify the pada. Then chant the pada. So one shloka contains two lines, as you know generally. In one line there are two padas. So in a shloka of two lines we have four padas in it. So we have to learn pada by pada. Generally what we follow is, first initially we chant the first pada thrice, and then second pada thrice, then whole line thrice, then third pada thrice, fourth pada thrice, and the whole second line thrice. Then the complete shloka of two lines are pronounced three times. In that way, this is the standard method of learning the shloka. And listen to the chanting of shloka regularly also. Anushrotavyam cha is also said. Like tasmad avashyam anupada pada shlokam anuvarnayitam anuvarnayitavyam anushrotavyam cha. That means we have to read it by pada, we have to identify pada by pada, pronounce it pada by pada, then pada by pada we have to learn it, then shloka we have to learn it, pronounce it completely, then anushrotavyam cha. Even listening to the shloka also are also having is a method of learning. So if you continuously learning listening to the same shloka repeatedly, then there is a chances that that shloka may come to you directly. So it becomes familiar with you, and you may be able to tell the shloka. The best way is to pronounce it by the shruti, or by hearing it. You may get logged it in memory, but by the pronouncing, by your own method of learning it, if you follow, then it is actually very ideal method of learning the shloka. So how to read or learn the Samhita? Now shlokas we spoke about how to do it. Then how to read Samhita is the next question. In Samhita, in Charaka Samhita only it is explained how to read it. अथ विषगादित एव विषजा प्रष्टव्यो अष्टविधं भवति. So here the explanation is given as a discussion between one bishak with another bishak, how the discussion should happen so that the learning process continue. Tantram tantrarthan, sthanam sthanarthan, adhyayam adhyayarthan, prashnam prashnarthaschet. So here Tantra and Tantrartha, identify the Tantra and Tantrartha you understand. Sthana we have to identify, then Sthanartha we have to identify, understand. Adhyaya we have to understand, Adhyaya Adhikaran also we have to understand. Then Prashna Prashnarthashcheti. Prashna Prashnartha means here about raising the question, and we have to understand what actually is the question is all about. Then Prushtena cha etad vaktavyam asheshena vakyasho vakyarthasho artha avayavashashcheti. So these Tantrartha, these all these eight are collectively called as Prashnashtaka, and these should be answered by Vakyashaha, Vakyarthashaha, and Arthavayavashaha. So Vakyashaha means directly the sentence, what it is conveying the meaning. Vakyarthashaha means we are going little critically by adopting the Panchavidha, Panchavayava Vakya, like we are Pratigna, Hetu, Drishtanta, Upanaya, Nigamana, we are adopting and we are understanding, that is called as Vakyarthashaha. Then Arthavayavashaha means Artha Durgama, we call it as. So here we go for intricacies, or the intricate details of the shloka or the Samhita, where we adopt the grammar portion and we adopt different methods of Dhyana Krama we do, and that Artha Vinishya Krama we follow, and different four types of Artha, that is Padartha we try to derive, Bhavartha we derive, Anvayartha we derive, then the Dhvanitartha we identify. So there are different critical analysis of that Samhita we do, that is Arthavayavashaha. So there are the different, that is Vakyasha also you can understand, Vakyarthasha also you can go the little deeper it is, Arthavayava is much deeper. So Alpa Buddhi, Madhyama and Uttama Buddhi can generally, it can be understood, not though it is not explained directly like that, but Vakyasha is understandable by Alpa Buddhi, Vakyarthasha is understandable by Madhyama Buddhi, Arthavayavashaha is understandable by Uttama Buddhi. So if you can reach the Arthavayavashaha, then Vakyarthasha is understandable easily. So we must thrive towards attaining the knowledge through that all the three methods of learning the Samhita. So atashcha prakritam buddhva deshakalantarani cha tantrakarturabhiprayan upayanshcha arthamadishet. How to derive the meaning? So we have to identify different arthas in a Samhita, like prakritartha, deshantarartha, kalantarartha, tantrakarturabhipraya and upaya. So prakritartha means presently at this context, what is the meaning of that one? Like Sharaha Kshiram Phalam Pushpam Basmatailani Kantakaha, it is given in Audbita Gana. Here Kshira means we should not be taking it as Go Kshira. It is Snuhi Kshira they are speaking, because contextually this is the Snuhi Kshira they are speaking. because it is Audbidagana they are speaking about. And Deshantarartha, how it is applicable as per the Desha. Apamargase bijani krimi vyadha apasmare grananashi pramohake, like that. The shloka comes in Charaka Sutra, where krimi they are speaking. That krimi is not about the Koshtagata krimi, it is about the Shirogata krimi they are speaking. Likewise, Kalantarartha, Pratigrahascha Upacharet. That means Pratigraha means the context is in Vamana Karma, where Pratigraha means they are speaking about the vessel. So, like that, Kalantarartha, it is a time of Kala is of the Vamana Karma. So, Pratigraha means it here what you are going to receive is the vessel. Tantra Kartur Abhipraya. It is about how Acharya has and is trying to convey the meaning and how he designates something as something. Like if Acharya designate Vata, Rasa, Adi, all everything, Rajas also everything as Dhatu. Like Vikara Dhatu Vaishamyam, Dhatu Vatadiyo Rasadescha, Tata Raja Prabhutescha. That means here Vikara Dhatu Vaishamyam means here Vata also he is calling it as Dhatu here. So this is the way of Tantra Kartu, that is Charaka, how he names Vata also as a dhatu. Then upaya means upayan iti shastropayan tantra yukti rupan. Tantra yukti rupan. Tantra yukti are the upaya used by the acharyas to explain their tantra. So we should understand in which form they are explaining, and we must identify the tantra yukti and understand it. How to read and learn Samhita, that is the continued part. We have Trivida Gnanopaya, that is Adhyayana, Adhyapana, and Tadvidya Sambhasha. Kritsnam Shastram Avagamya, Shastrasya Dridhatayam Abhidhanasya, Saustave, Arthavignane, Vachana Shaktaucha, Bhuyo Bhuya Prayateta Samyak. So we should be striving towards affirmative knowledge. Then we have to get that proficiency and accuracy in the information we have to collect, and Vachana Shakti also, that is vocabulary also we have to develop. How we can attain these four capabilities by the Shastra Adhyayana, that is they are through the three upayas called as Adhyayana, Adhyapanam, and Tadvidya Sambhasha. Adhyayana means Swadhyaya we can do. We are as you people are studying. Adhyapana means, of course, the teachers are doing that, but Adhyapana means it is not about only the teachers are doing. We have to make ourselves capable of explaining it to others. Just try this out. You learn it and then you explain to each other. Then you will remember it better. So how teachers are getting proficient in the subject is because of the Adhyapana only. Adhyayana they will do, and Adhyapana also they do. So Adhyapana when we are doing, definitely we will be studying more in more seriously, as well as we'll go into the details, and we try not to miss any points, because what if a student asks any question, we should be ready to answer them. For that reason, Adhyapana helps us to know more. Then Tadvidya Sambhasha. Tadvidya Sambhasha means here we should be making Sambhasha with the person with which is from the same field. Because you are Ayurveda doctor and you are trying to discuss about like discussing about Pada Chatushtaya, you should not be discussing it with some an engineering student or architecture student. You should be discussing with an Ayurveda student only. So Tadvidya means the same Vidya, whoever is the similar or the same Vidya what they are into, the same people we have to sit and discuss. This is the Tadvidya Sambhasha. By this also exchange of the knowledge also will happen, and he may disclose some of the key details of the knowledge. He may disclose it up, he may open it up, and in a friendly gesture, and you can also share your information so that the collectively both can understand and both can get a complete knowledge of that one. So this is how the knowledge we can develop. Now I just said about learning the shloka is important, and it is not just about learning the shloka, the learning of Samhita as such, how it should be done, that is also explained in Charaka Samhita Vimanasthana. Mana pura saribhir vagbhihi sutram anukraman puna puna avartayet buddhya samyag anupravishya artatattvam swadosha pariharaya paradosha pramanartham. So not everything we can learn through our own experiences. We should learn from other mistakes also. And sutra manukraman puna puna avartayet. So here it is like Vagbihi Sutra Manukraman Puna Puna Avartayet. We should be focusing on what we are reading. Then Vagbihi Sutra Manukraman Puna Puna Avartayet means here we should be pronouncing it loudly. We should not be reading the Samhita or the shlokas by closing our mouth and simply through the mind we are reading it, and we are simply trying to keep that in our mind. It doesn't work like that. Vagbihi Sutra Manukraman Puna Puna
Sir, it's
Avartayet.
not
That
audible,
means,
sir.
just a minute. Is it audible? Is it audible?
Wait, sir. Wait. Sir,
Just a
can you
minute.
speak, sir?
Is
Yes,
it
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. So how, Dr. Adarsh, is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So I was explaining about how it should be learnt, how it should be read. Manapura Saribhir Vagbhihi Sutra Manukraman Puna Puna Avartayet. That means we should be pronouncing it louder and read it. So you may be doing that practice in your classrooms also, like shloka patana you must be doing it. So we don't do the shloka patana by our own mind. We should be pronouncing it and say. So Vagbhi Sutramanukraman Puna Punavartayat means that shloka or the topic should be repeatedly read. It is not that once you are reading and you think that it will retain in your memory. It doesn't happen. So repeated exposure should happen so that it will be retained in our memory. Buddhya samyak anupravisya arthatattvam sadosha pariharaya paradosha pramanartham. So repeated reading also, and also we should acknowledge the information. That means we have to ensure that you have understood. एवं च मध्यन्तिने अपराह्ने रात्रौ च शश्वत् अपरिहापयन् अध्ययनम् अभ्यसेत् इति अध्ययनविधिः. That means they are speaking about only madhyantine aparahne ratrau cha, they are telling. And what about the morning time? Prataradikale yad yad sorry yad adhyanam uktam tad adhyanam aparihapayan na prityajan. That means the pratah kala is anyhow by default it is a time for studies only. So madhyantine aparahne ratrocha, that means the learning process should be continuous only. It should not be like we are studying it only during the afternoon or we are studying only at night. It should not happen. So it should be a continuous process. So this is how the adhyana should be done. In Ashtanga Uttaratantra, Uttarasthana, it is given दीर्घजीवितमारोग्यं धर्मवर्थं सुखं यशः पाठावबोधानुष्ठानैः अधिगच्छत्यतो ध्रुवम्. See here, he is giving, he is crediting Adhyana not only for the Shastra Gnana, Dirghajivitam Arogyam Dharmamartham Sukham Yashah. For attaining all these benefits also, we can, this Samhita Adhyana will be useful, and how it should be done. Patha, Avabodha, and Anushtana. These are the three methods of adopting the knowledge from the Samhita. So Patha means again the learning process. Avabodha is understanding it, acknowledging the information. Anushtana means by applying it. So the student are need to focus on this part. Patha, Avabodha, and Anushtana. See, whatever you have learned, you should make Anushtana of that one. Like try to get up at Brahmi Muhurta at once. If you are regularly getting up at Brahmi Muhurta, it is all fine. If not, do it once and see how it will improve your the health. As well as Danta Dhavana, it is said. So Danta Dhavana is mentioned that the Danta Kashta is available. You have to make it like a kurcha, and you without harming Danta Mamsani Abhadayan, you have to do that. So you can do that, and we can acknowledge the information. Like that Anushtana, we have to make it and learn it. Now coming to the hurdles and solutions, which is the topic of today's. So what is the basis for this hurdles and solutions? I would like to say that a small study on second year BMS students of my college through a questionnaire was conducted. We had set some 12 questions and their probable solutions were discussed. First, the questions were set and we discussed regarding that question whether these are the hurdles really and any other hurdles are there while studying Samhita, what you got through, what you have went through during your first year BMS, because they were the first time got the first time exposure for the NCSM syllabus. So new Samhita Adhyana syllabus was little different from the previously what it was. So those students answered with those the probable hurdles what they had faced and the what are the solutions for them also were discussed. And also the discussion with my department PG scholars, that is Department of PG Studies in Ayurveda, Samhita and Siddhanta in my college also made, because they are regularly studying the Samhita and what hurdles they face. All those things were also discussed. This is the basis for the today's topic. The hurdle one, the order of explanation, they're not the way we have been studying. That is the order of explanation. What is in our Ashtanga Hridayam is something like they introduce and then they go for Dinacharya, Ritucharya, and like that they go on explaining. This is not the way of conventional method of learning we have been doing, because we had a different exposure till 12th standard. Now suddenly we are exposed to some other way of order of explanation. Was it confusing? Was the question, and the answer was yes only. That means that order of explanation was little confusing, and the solution is a proper orientation and familiarizing with the subject would solve the problem. These are the solutions suggested by the students only, that a proper orientation towards the order of that explanation. And also if we go on reading it repeatedly, as we just said how it Samhita should be studied, a continuous study will help us to understand the order of their explanation and it won't be a problem in later days. The hurdle 2, a sudden exposure to Samskrita based text and syllabus. Just before we said that we have been studying till 12th standard with English medium or maybe in the local language as a medium, but suddenly we get exposed to a Samskrita based text. Yes, this was a challenge for the student. The solution is a regular exposure, because regularly if you keep on opening the text and keep on watching that, if you read that, it becomes acquainted with you become acquainted with it and it won't be a problem. A constant learning of Ayurveda through words of Samskrita only you should be doing. Don't translate it and learn. We have to learn it through Samskrita words only. By that you become familiar with those words and it won't be a problem in future. So collecting the meaning from dictionaries and commentaries. So dictionary, if you are unable to find any meaning of any word, we can definitely ask our teachers, and also we can open the dictionary, and even the commentaries of those texts will help us to understand what is the actual meaning in contextual meaning also. When we go on learning in this way, so Samskrita will not be like unfamiliar one. So accustoming and familiarizing the text. So if you go on studying it regularly, it won't become a strange subject for you. It won't become a strange book for you. It becomes a little familiar for you. So introduction of Samskrita as a subject in BMS curriculum is based on the fact that non-Samskrita background student can also study. You know that Samskrita is a subject in first year BMS, and this is not simply to pass one subject. This is for adopting that information throughout your BMS study only. Why Samskrita is kept in first year? Because right from the first year, all the texts are in the Samskrita only, and we should learn through that Samskrita Bhasha Gnana only we must have, and through that only we have to read them. That is the actual method of learning. For that purpose, the Samskrita has been kept as a subject in the first year. And if any student is having any previous acquaintance with the Samskrita, will help in reducing this issue. So otherwise, a person who had no exposure to Samskrita has to put some little more effort to get familiarized with the Samskrita words. And compared to the first year, second year, and third year syllabus is progressively it becomes heavier, and that's why the first year, because of the same problem, same hurdle as foreseen by the NCISM or the higher authorities, First year has been kept with moderate and manageable syllabus, quantum of syllabus. Second year it becomes little higher. Third year it becomes little more higher. So like that progressively it is harder to study. By that time you will be acquainted with the subject and you can overcome that hurdle. Hurdle number 3, newer words and unfamiliar words. This is not a new one. The previously also similar things had come. So new words. Suddenly, Vata word you are coming into that text, and you are exposed to that such words, and it becomes like rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda. Though some of the words are similar in Indian Indian languages, but few words are totally new. Oh, and they are unfamiliar. So how to get in touch with or how to learn that? Constant touch with the text and the teacher for understanding the newer and unfamiliar word. So new words and unfamiliar words, we can go to the dictionary and we can go to the teacher to get the meaning. Contextual meaning, as we said, atascha prakritam buddha deshakalantaranicha tantra kartur abhiprayan upayamscha arthamadishet. So different types of artha, if you go on taking it, the applied meaning, applied contextual meaning, if you understand, that will be more useful than understanding its padartha alone. The fourth hurdle, sudden exposure to Ayurveda field, which was never introduced till 12th standard, that is shifting the focus from science-based learning to ancient Indian knowledge system. That was like a sudden shift over of the focus. Till now, you have been studying physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Suddenly, the Padartha Vijnana, Ashtangardhyam, Samhita Adhyayan, Rachana Sharya, like that, the subject starts coming to you. So it is a sudden shift over of the total focus towards that how you have been learning. So the conventional learning was lost, and a new way of learning you are exposed to. So this was seen as a hurdle, and how we can overcome that. Definitely a passion towards learning and acceptance towards the data means, it is like if we are saying that vata, pitta and kapha, and we are saying that vata means like this, pitta means like that, initially it will be given as a data. So initial acceptance towards the data, then you're if you're verifying it, you're cross checking it, and you're understanding it in the way of how it is to be understood through similes and all, that becomes a proper method of understanding. If you have a resistance towards that newer exposure, then definitely that resistance will not help you to understand the topics in Ayurveda. Realizing the practical application and clinical significance of the concepts. Like simply, why should we learn this one? The question would arise that why I'm learning the Atma, why I'm learning the Manas, why should, when I'm becoming a doctor, I should see the patient, write the prescription medicine, and I should practice. And why should I understand the Atma, Manas, Indriya, and all? So we have to understand its application and clinical significance also, why we are studying all those, and that is best done by the teachers only. And you can also raise this question and you can get the answer why we should have to learn all these topics. Every topic explained is of a practically applicable background only. An orientation by the teachers about the topic, how it is relevant for us to study, that will also will help us. Hurdle 5, learning a pure science along with the additional modern descriptions and their probable comparisons. You have this exposure that we are learning the Ayurveda part, and also how it is explained in the modern counterpart are also both are explained together. Then there's a tendency of confusion, like modern science explains anatomy, explains that there are 206 bones, whereas Charaka says 360, Sushruta says 300. So what is that? Then we have to, in Ayurveda only there are different opinions given, 360, 300 bones they are telling, but actual the count in modern science is 206 only. Then how this confusion can be, how can we overcome that? See, learning Ayurveda in the way it is explained, this is the solution for it. Why it is 300 and why it is 360? Because there are the reasons, like in the Sharira, while they are explaining, even the Ruchakasti, that is the dentures, even those are also taken into account, and they are counting the numbers also. And 206 bones are the one after the ossification they count, whereas before the ossification the numbers would be much more than that one. So keeping all those facts, how Ayurveda has explained, how Ayurveda has seen it, looking into that, if we learn it, then it will help us to understand. Understanding the concept behind the science would help to understand in understanding rather than comparison. So don't compare everything through to the modern science, because modern science approach is a different one, whereas Ayurveda approaches in a tridosha way, because dosha is the primary thing we have with us, and through that only we are going to uh, analyze everything, even the roga also, chikitsa also, everything is based on the dosha only. Shall not mix the descriptions of Ayurveda with that of modern science description, shall be studied differently. And wherever it is applicable, there only you do, otherwise don't apply it. So study them separate and keep the pure science as pure only, don't mix it up and understand. And a modern correlation might not exactly describe the meaning to be conveyed. So sometimes what happens, Ayurveda part, if it is not understood, we tend to understand it through modern science, like Vatajakasa, why it is producing that pricking type of sensation, Shukapurna Galasita, why it is producing. That means suddenly the modern thinking comes up that there can be a uh, the probable infection, the bacterial infection, like that. Such type of mixing over of the concept should not happen. Keep them separate and understand. Hurdle 6. Instead of data or statistics based on research, that is a modern research, we were provided with the data from the ancient text, and we were forced to believe them for further learning. Example, tridosha. Like tridosha, among the three doshas, the vayu is, that is vata dosha, is like more of avyakto vekta karmacha, it is said. It is not seen through the naked eyes, but it is seen through its action. So the question arises, just show me where it is. So how vata is present in the body, how it is, how you can compare that, the what is outside as a vayu, how you can compare that with the vata dosha, whether air is blowing inside the body. So such things would come up. So such things, that is not through the data we do. So how can we believe it? So if this is the hurdle, so Ayurveda descriptions are also based on the studies only. It is not a something like hypothetical. This is not something through imagination. They are also have over the data developed by the Pratyaksha Paladarshana only. A focused and progressive learning will solve the problem. When we are progressively we are learning it, go on identifying it, and when we understand the lakshanas given for vata dosha, when we see it in a patient, then we can understand the existence of vata dosha. In the same way, we have to go on learning it. Though data means it is like a modern science data. If we are expecting, then that may not be available, because the data collection and all has come into effect recently only. But our science is an ancient one, where they had the data, but those data may not be available with us, but the outcome of those data will be with us only, is with us only. So moreover, we should not be judgmental by shorter exposure to the syllabus. So like you took admission and suddenly you start feeling that this is something strange I'm studying, and suddenly you are canceling the admission and moving out. This should not happen, because it takes little time for that Ayurveda field to get acquainted. So it should not be judgmental about Ayurveda, that this is something strange, this is something hypothetical, this is unscientific. Such things should not happen by the shorter exposure. A small information doesn't give us a complete picture of the science. So idam agama siddhatvat pratyaksha paladarshanaat mantravat samprayoktavayam na mimamsam kadanchana. What they are saying here as idam agama siddhatvat. Agama siddhatvat means this is actually set, finalized and concluded by the agama, that means through the rishis only, pratyaksha paladarshanaat, by observing the phala directly. This is not something hypothetical. When it was seen, when it is seen through or perceived through indriyas, that is a pratyaksha, when it is done through that only, then only it was finalized as a siddhanta. Mantravat samprayoktavyam. So we are not arguing, we are not modifying the mantra, we are just pronouncing the mantra as it is. In the same way, the information given here should be used as a mantra only. Na mimamsim katanchana. That means we should not be modifying it, we should not be discussing means we should not be uh, like distract the information given here. We should be using it directly, as the information. The hurdle 7 was the learning process a rote learning, just to go on learning what have been taught in the classroom and what our seniors were doing. So seniors are telling what you have to learn, what you can avoid, how to plan the marks, how to plan the passing mark. Are we doing it like that? Have been doing the same way. A rote learning is not useful, does not contribute in knowledge building process, because rote learning means teacher said to learn the definition of vata dosha, you learned it. So guna and karma of pitta dosha, you just learned it. It should not be so. It won't contribute to the knowledge. We should be understanding it through the observations further also. A good input from a senior will always be helpful. So learn to a senior who is giving a positive and a constructive ideas. Develop a customized learning methodology through consulting the teachers. So every student must have their own method of learning methodology. So a student may be comfortable sitting alone and studying. A student may be comfortable in a group study, or the student will be feeling comfortable in getting up in the morning and studying it. And a student may be comfortable with their own method of learning, that shloka first they by heart it, then they learn it, then they understand it. So they are different method of learning. So you develop your own customized learning methodology, and that will help in overcoming this problem. The next hurdle: could you connect the information learned with the reality? We have been saying that these are the explanations given in Rutucharya, the Rutu Sandhi, like that it is said. Is it happening really? So connecting the information from Samhita with our surroundings and our life would help in understanding the Samhita. Like Rutu Sandhya, just now I took the example. Is it really happening? Or whether is it a time where we are sensitive? You can observe those changes around and you can learn out of it. Because the Sharad Rutu, now it is a time for it, and Hamsodaka has been said. We can see that the purity of the water. There are researches taken also that is to see the purity of the water during the Sharad Rutu and compared to other Rutu, the water purity of water in the other Rutus. Like that, we can connect it with the reality, with the description available in the Samhita, and raise the question with the applications of concepts and discuss. So you have to raise the question, and among the student community, we can develop these questions and discuss regarding that, and further the discussion can be taken to the teacher and further it can be discussed. The ninth hurdle: did you feel connected with the descriptions given in either text with your life or the living? So whether it was connectable, they are saying so many things about uh, the sadvrata and or the dinacharya, benefit of sthana they are telling, benefit of vyayama they are speaking, whether it was applicable, whether it is, did you feel connected? A person who is doing vyayama may easily get connected with the description of vyayama. A person who is getting up in brahmi murta can definitely relate that description to his experience. Like identify the drugs daily used in household. Recognizing the concept used in the daily life will help in connecting with the Ayurveda. Like the descriptions given in our Shastra, many dravyas are available in our kitchen only. Just go and see that those drugs in the kitchen. The usage of that, will it help to us? Is it the way it is explained? Is it really acting accordingly in accordance to that? We can get that experience by doing that exposure. Adopt the description and concepts of fire within daily routine. Like getting up, as I told, getting up in Brahmi Muhurta and see, continuously get up in Brahmi Muhurta and see how your health is improving. And doing the Danta Dhavana using the Danta Kashta, try it once and do. It is Kashaya Katu Tikta Rasa it should have, not like the conventional toothpaste where we have the Madhura Rasa also. And some toothpaste have salt also in it. So Ayurveda doesn't explain those things, only Kashaya Katu Tikta Rasa has been said. So just having an experience by doing the Danta Dhavana and connecting with it. So what happens by that is, whoever, whenever they are anybody is asking about Danta Dhavana, it may be in examination also, you will be having a first-hand experience, and then by that you can easily explain them. So this is how we have to connect ourselves with the description and associative learning. like identify the Rutu and explain it. Now this is the Rutu which is running. Identify it and tally with the description given and try to explain how it is. So this is how we have to do it. Then hurdles and solution. Hurdle number 10. What do you feel about slow learners within your surroundings? Does Ayurveda Samhita have anything to do with their slow learning? Do you feel the complexity of Samhita has made them so? Because every sorry, every single unit or a student in a batch, every student will not be learning in the same pace. Some are slow learners, some are fast learners. Some may learn by learning the shloka, by reading the shloka 10 times or one time. Some may take it more time to understand it. So there are slow learners also, fast learners also. But slow learners, is it that their quality that they are learning slow, or exposure to Ayurveda Samhita, which is in its own unique pattern, has made them to learn slow? The answer was yes only. That a sudden exposure has like it had made a confusion, and till 12th they have been scoring better. Now suddenly they are scoring much lesser, and I'm unable to catch up what you're explaining. Like that, there are hurdles also. So initial glitches in learning can be solved by constant effort only, and thus slow learning can be resolved. Initially it can be a slow learner. Later, a continuous exposure with the compassion towards learning as well as a consistent effort will always solve this problem. Complexity in terms of newer exposure and unfamiliarity can be solved through this sustained effort only. How would you describe the complexity or simplicity of Samhitas for learning? Is it difficult or is it easier? So the students said, our students said that Samhitas are not actually really difficult, not actually complex to learn. So when we read through a teacher or through a compassion, through a studying passion, if we do it, definitely it is not complex one, because we have adopted ourselves towards the modern way of learning. So a new Indian knowledge system will definitely is a different way. So it becomes little complex in understanding it, and definitely it is not a difficult one, and and we can definitely get adopted with the new method of learning it. And we must avoid the preoccupied resistance towards the Samhita. We should stop avoiding the Samhita. We should not have a resistance towards Samhita. We should go and get along with it so that we can understand it properly. The next one, whether translation did justice in explaining the pure science. Do you feel English translation helped, and what should be the solution? Because translation was really of help when we are not able to understand what is explained in Samskrita. Then definitely a local language, and if not, there is an English language. Now English language translations are plenty are available, will they help? Definitely in the initial stage it may be useful, definitely, because a new exposure to sudden exposure to Sanskritam, it may get little confused, and English, which is familiar, can be used as a tool for understanding it. But translation in any Indian language would bring a relatively better explanation compared to English. So it is like Samskrita is much nearer to Indian languages, and any Indian languages will help us to understand it better. And English may not fulfill the actual purpose of doing it, but English translation will also help in the initial phase. The focus on classroom teaching and discussion with the teachers will help in avoiding misinterpretation. Sometimes misinterpretations, we can see it in English translated books also. So we can get it resolved by discussing with the teacher and getting the clarification. And initial support from English translation, and later we can move on to the original Samskrita commentaries, because English translation may not completely justify what author is willing to say. But initially you can take the help of that, and later we have to move on to the actual text. So actual text means the Samskrita text and actual Samskrita commentaries. It will be easier to learn. It is not really difficult to understand. When we go on reading it, definitely we become familiar with the words and we can easily derive the meaning of it. So these are the 12 questions I asked and the points were taken. General hurdles, which are we have seen. Is the first one is the lack of interest among students to study or the distractions they have. They are more distracted towards the gadgets and the phone they are holding, and updating everything on Instagram, updating everything on different social media, and they are fully into those things only, watching the reels, recording the reels, releasing on the social media. Those type of the distractions are plenty. This is one hurdle. And preoccupied modern concepts. So whatever we are explaining, they are asking through the modern concepts and raising the question and raising the doubt. So these are the one another hurdle we have observed. Insufficiency of motivation from the teachers. This is at times it happens that teacher fails to motivate the student towards learning the Samhita. It should not have. It can be overcome. Lack of familiarity with the topics like words and concepts as we discussed earlier. Then Sanskrit has become just a subject to pass without application. Sanskrit, once some subject is cleared in first year, the students are not really interested in knowing anything and applying anything from the Samskrita. It should not happen. So this is the language, as a language we have studied, and that language itself is important to study the further the Samhitas. Connectivity between the chapters are missed out. So the arrangement of chapters are by a reason only, by a methodical way they have explained that connectivity, if we understand it, this will definitely help us. But if the connectivity is missed out, then definitely the chapters looks zigzag pattern of explanation. Then classroom teaching leading to rote learning. So only classroom teaching without any practical exposure, or without any even in the classroom also, if it is only theoretical explanation without giving any practical experiences also, practical applications, if they are not applied, not explained, then it leads to a rote learning only. It should be avoided. Then upama are not understood, or the similes are not understood, because some of the difficult topics are explained in Ayurveda with the help of the similes. If those similes are itself are not understandable, then definitely that points are missed out. So we need to focus on the similes, and through that only we have to understand the topics. And different opinions between the acharyas create confusion. As just before I said, 360 bones and 300 bones, definitely it will cause confusion. So if we understand what is the intention of saying that, if that clarification is gotten, then definitely this problem would be solved. And presumption that modern science as standard, keeping modern science as a standard, developed one, the recently developed one, and they are scientific. If we keep that presumption, then definitely Ayurveda becomes difficult only. Though now Ayurveda research works are also are happening, and also they are also as per the modern uh, this uh, research methodology are adopted, and it is proven, but still many concepts to be understood as per the Ayurveda description only should not be thought over as a modern science as a standard one, because everything data based explanation is just based on the statistical data only. It is not through the experiences. So through the experience, what it has seen, what it is observed and documented, that becomes more valid than just statistically significant ones. Like familiarity with anatomy in Rachana Sharira and physiology in Kriya Sharira subjects makes Samhita Adhyayan as less preferred, because they are the anatomy and physiology are little familiar to you till 12th standard, and then Kriya Sharira, Rachana Sharira, they are little okay, because there is a counterpart of modern descriptions are familiar to you, but Samhita Adhyayana is not so. Samhitas are totally pure and pure, totally new to you, so that becomes little like less preferred. This is another hurdle we have seen. And adding to Samhita in Samhita Adhyayan, like in first year, Samhita Ashtanga Hridayam and as well as Charaka Samhita both were added. So some descriptions are identical, some create confusion. So those things are the hurdles we have seen. What would be the solution? Not for each hurdle what is the solution, it is a general solution I am quoting. A standard protocol of learning Samhita should be set in. It should be like a teacher should also have a standard methodology of teaching the Samhita, and a standard method of learning also for Samhita should be set in. This is one method of this is one solution. And associative learning also should be brought in. That means you have to identify the situation and understand as per the shastra, like identifying a rutu or identifying dravya it is, and then you are explaining that, like a description of guduchi is here and guduchi is in front of you, and see that and explain it. So it should be together. Add Samhita based clinical success stories. So as some clinically successful, I'm going to quote some four practical experiences where Samhita was the base for analyzing and planning the treatment, and we got the success through it. When we repeatedly expose our student through the Samhita based success stories, then student will get inclination towards Samhita Adhyayana. And activity based or patient exposure based learning. Activity based it should be like dantadhana is dantadhana, we have to do it and see how it happens, how it is experienced, then we are going to learn it much more effectively. Bring in the applied Samskrita in all subjects. Samskrita as of now has become one subject in first year and it is left out in first year and moved on to the second year. It should not happen so. In second and third year also, the applied Samskrita should be done, and that should be taken up. And Samskrita as a base for understanding all other subject will help us to solve the problem. And teacher training programs. So teachers should also continuously under training programs and how to improvise their educational skills or teaching methodology that will solve the problem. To focus on the studies, that is avoid distractions and set a customized strategy for the study. As previously we discussed about, you must have your own customized strategy for your studies. A group study may not be suitable for everyone. You should have your own way of studying, that you should adopt it. Avoid Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect is a person's lack of knowledge and skills in a certain area cause them to overestimate their own competence. That means the first point is about, you have studied in the second internals, but you think that okay, I have uh, anyhow I know have learned it in second internals and I can easily manage it in final exam. So that overestimation should be avoided. By contrast, one more thing is there, this effect also causes those who excel in a given area to think the task is simple for everyone and underestimate their relative abilities as well. Like a teacher may think that this is a very easy topic, a student can easily write it. A teacher is a skilled person, and he is expecting the similar explanation or similar information from the student also. This also should not happen, because students are the new to it, and we cannot expect that skilled person to the level of skilled person that student should be explaining it. Even that is not also possible in both way, for teacher as well as student. Both way it is applicable. For student, again, you have learned it in preparatory exam, so anyhow I know that part. So that overestimation also should be avoided. Then kaizen, as Japanese word, a continuous improvement. That means previously you had learned in for first internal exam, you had learned like some 50 shlokas you had learned, then you should be learning another 50 shloka by the next internal examination. Like that, progressively you should be improvising yourself. This is another solution. Now I'm going to explain some of the Samhita based clinical success stories where there are two cases of COVID-19 when it was in the first wave. This is the first case of a male with 42 years old. He was positive for COVID-19, and later, after this case had come, uh, the date is missing here. So, in the year 2019, sorry, 2021. It is, sorry, it is not a first wave. This is a third wave when it was very much prominent in our area. So the patient was uh, diagnosed as a COVID positive. Later, through Ayurveda principles only, Ayurveda treatment only, this came into negative. This is another case, a female of 35 years who was tested positive for COVID, and later through Ayurveda principle was tested as negative. So what are all the treatment adopted for the patient? Initially, as per the The Chikitsa Sutra explained in Charaka Samhita, the Langana was advised in the form of Upavasa, Pachana, using the Vyosha, Amla, and Saindavalavana. So Vyosha is Trikatu, that particularly Pippali we used. Pippali is specified. Pippali, Amla, and Saindavalavana we had given to that patient. Initially, that Pachana was done, and later the Kashaya Prayoga was done after 7 days when the patient crossed 7 days of that Jara. So Jara had come down a bit by the Pachana alone, but that post-COVID situation complications should be avoided. For that reason, we had to continue some of the treatment. Freshly made Kashaya by Patola, Sariva, Musta, Pata, and Katukarohini. That is in Charaka Chikitsasthana, 3rd chapter, 201 shloka. So the 50 ml was given after food 3 times a day. And also, after 10th day of Jara, Vasati Gritha was given 20 ml with hot water 3 times a day. So here, Tatra ame antarpanam syat vyoshamna lavanayritam pachanam shasyate bastihi amehi pratisiddhite. This is the reference from Charaka Siddhisthana, where the reference I took for the Pachana Kashaya, though the description is explained under the heading of Basti, but this was useful for Pachanartha. And also Patoladi Kashaya, as explained in Patola Sariva Musta Pata Katakarohini in 201 shloka, first line. So this shloka was taken and this Kashaya was made and given to the patient. Why this Samhita Adhyayan is important and how it is really applicable, because before and after the reports I have shown, both the cases similar principle. One was a male patient, another was a female patient. We adopted some changes between them, but more or less the principle was same. And Pachana Kashaya further, Pachanam Shamaniyama Kashayam Payet Bishak Jwaritam Shadahayatite Lagvana Pratipojitam. So Pachana Kashaya was further given even beyond the 6 days also, it was given. Then after 10th day, as I told, it was Vasadi Krita was given. The reference taken was from Charaka Chikitsasthana, 3rd chapter. Vasam Guduchim Trifalam Trayamanam Yavasakam Paktva Tena Kashayena Paisa Dvikunena Cha. Pippali Mustamradvika Chandanoৎpala Nagaraihi Kalki Kataischa Pipachet Gratam Jeena Jurapam. Fortunately, this Grita was available in the pharmacy, and that Vasadi Grita was directly it was administered, and we could find that the effect was really promising. And during the whole duration, Dhupana Karma was done in the place where they are residing. So to during the active case, even beyond that also, we used it. Use the Gugulu, Agaru, Sarjarasa, Vacha, Gaura Sarshapa with the Lavana, Nimbapatra and ghee. So when these are used, and we did the Dhupana, and that reference is from Sushruta Sutra, 5th chapter, 18th shloka. I'm displaying here now at the right side, 18th one. Tato Gugulu Aguru Sarjarasa Vacha Gaura Sarshapa. So this was used for case of probable or stage 1. This is not a stage 3 or 4, stage 1 cervical cancer. So when that histopathology was done, so the patient was 51 years old and was diagnosed having the focal ectocervical hyperplasia. So there is a suspicion of the cervical cancer, cervical carcinoma to be specific, and the patient took the treatment in Ayurveda, and we had adopted our Ayurveda principles only, and through that we had treated. So the test she tested in around some 7-8 months the treatment was running, and she was tested as negative for dysplasia or intraepithelial lesion. So even the cancer can be treated by using the information given in the Samhita. So the patient had the burning sensation inside the vagina. On examination by a gynecologist, it was found that redness of cervix, fragility, and bleeding on touch it was. So the patient complained yellow discharge per vagina as well. So it was diagnosed through the principle of through the description of Ayurveda as Pitta Jayoni Mapat, where it was like Daha, it was mentioned, and also Pita, Srava was mentioned, and it is Kunapasrava also was seen. I mean, at times it was not, that's why I didn't mention. And Panchavalkala Kwatha Dharana, as explained in 62nd shloka, it is said that Panchavalkasya, so Dharayet. So Panchavalkala, it should be made dharana. We had made it as a fine powder and paste, and we had given for dharanartha, and also as a pichu, we had given sneha pichu. Initially, I gave that Panchavalkala kashaya, as we had through the cotton swab, we had kept it inside, and then the sneha pichu was given by the uh, uh, through that yoni dharana also it was made. So in addition, it was not only these two we did. Kanchanar Guglu was given and Cruel Plus tablet was also given. So through that, the treatment was successful. It found out to be negative for the dysplasia or intraepithelial lesion. Another case where the patient was complaining of a tiredness continuously. The patient was 32 years old and he was diagnosed with random insulin, though the sugar levels were normal, the insulin levels had peaked. Like even in fasting, it was 3 to 25. It was 123 million units. So this patient was treated through Ayurveda principle, and the right side you can see that it had come down in approximately in 3 months. It had come down to its halfway, that is 59.22. Why I'm telling this, because this patient in October 17th he showed that 59.22 was a reading. Still the treatment is on and we have to see the normalcy. Why I'm telling this, because in the halfway we have come this way with Ayurveda principles only. The complete normalization is expected in coming days. So the treatment is still running to for the patient. So treatment given was the Madhvasava, and another one was about one Kalka, in Kashaya, we have to like Falatrika, Daru Haridra, Vishala, Musta. We are preparing Kashaya and add Nisha Kalka, that is Haridra Kalka to it, and then consume while add the Madhu to it and consume. So this is, we did it for all these days continuously, and it was successful in controlling that random insulin level. And this was taken in empty stomach in the morning, so only empty stomach single dose was given every day, and this was the only treatment given. We didn't give multiple treatment, and multi modal therapy was not given. Only Madhvasava and this combination of this kashaya was given to the patient. What will be the use of studying the Shastra? Nahi ekasmin. Now I'm coming to the general importance of learning the Shastra, because I showed the 4 cases, 2 COVID cases, one probable cervical carcinoma case, stage 1 it was, not advanced stage, and another one random insulin when he was about to get diabetic. So we thought of this must be the case of Pururupa for Prameha, but only that fatigue was the only symptom in the patient. So by looking into all these, what is the general importance of learning a Shastra? I'm explaining now. Nahi ekasmin shastre shakyah sarva shastranam avarodhah kartum. Studying only one Shastra will not be absolute, and it won't give you complete information. That means, of course, the one Shastra as such is a complete by in its own, but it won't give you the complete picture of knowing all the Shastras. So ekam shastram adhyano na vidya shastram nishchayam tasmat bahushruta shastram vijaniyat chikitsakah. So this many more shastras if you hear, if you learn, then we call it as bahushrutaha. So that will bring in more proficiency in treating. Nahi abhushruto atra संक्षिप्तान बीजभूतानि अन्य शास्त्र संस्कारात anayasena avagachyate. Because if you have learned Ashtanga Hridayam while reading the Charaka Samhita, it will be easy for you to understand Charaka Samhita and comprehend it, because you already know the Ashtanga Hridayam. It is easier for you to learn even Sushruta Samhita also, because you have learned the Ashtanga Hridayam. So prayogagnasya vaidyasya siddhir bhavati nityashah tasmat parichayam kuryat. So Sushruta says, because the person who is exposed to the practical science and through the Shastra Jnana, he will become more proficient. For that reason, Samhita should be introduced to him. So coming to the concluding remarks, Samhita Samhitas are validated and time-tested literatures and are practically valid at all times. A student of Ayurveda must study Samhita in their originality and in the method of learning them. Learning shlokas are essential for the command over the subject, and avoiding distraction and a focused study will help in accustoming with the Samhitas. Associative learning will be useful in realizing the applicability of Samhita, and a basic understanding of Samskrita will help comprehending the Samhita. One must understand the method of studying the Samhita, and we have to proceed further. So it is not like you are reading just like a modern science. We should know the method of learning the Samhita. That teacher will definitely help for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sri Nagesh, sir. So now there is an interactive session. Sir, we have collected some questions from audience.
Yeah.
First question goes like this. What is the relevance of chandas in learning sloka?
Yeah. Yeah. Chandas is actually it is a way how literature is written. Of course, this is a method of learning the literature only in Ayurveda Samhitas only. Definitely, Chandas will be like as I said, Vakyasha, Vakyarthasha, Arthavyavashaha. I said it is coming under Arthavyavashaha. That means it is a more proficient way of learning. Chandas will be definitely relevant in understanding it. And also, Chandas is more applicable where it is in a poetic way when it is explained. So even in the Gadya form of explanation also we get to see, but proficiently um, in understanding this shlokas as such, where Chandas is really helpful. But here at you generally what we have seen is at UG level the Chandas are not practically applied and explained, though it is explained in the Samhita, sorry, Samskrita as a language, but applicability is rarely seen. So, but this relevance of Chandas is definitely it should be made. So Chandas are the one
Sir,
which is actually for the beautification of the Shastra we do. So this is actually definitely relevant.
thank you, sir. There is a next question. Is it necessary to learn Vyakarana to understand slokas?
Yeah, definitely it is necessary. This is what I have said. What the purpose of introducing Samskrita in first year is that only, because if like for Vatena, Vatabhyam, sorry, Vatena is given, or it is given by Dravyena or Virechanena or Virechanaihi, like that Bahuvachana is used, Ekvachana is used, Dvivachanas are used, like Pliha Pupusau word is used, it is indicating the Dvivachana, like that Vachana, Linga, as well as the Vibhakti and Pratyayas, all these are definitely will be useful because when we are understanding any Shastra, all these are written using these Vyakaranas only. Like it is given, so dosham haret virechanaihi, if it is given, for example, virechanaihi means we are not giving virechana once because bahuvachana is used, multiple virechana we have to give. Like that, explanations are given. So these Vyakarana will definitely will be of use. The basic information about Vyakarana will be sufficient. We need not go for a very proficient way of expertise level of Vyakarana, but basics of Vyakarana also we must know. That will help in understanding the meaning properly.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Is it necessary to learn back as the Samhitas are written in ancient period? Is there any need to modify it, sir?
No, Samhita definition itself is Parasannikasha Samhita. No, that means it is already well formed only. So any effort to modify it will actually spoil it. We are not supposed to. We are not actually entitled to make any modifications in it. We are supposed to learn as it is. So there was there were efforts in making rearranging the topics in I should not be taking the name of the author. So there are efforts in rearranging the topics written in Samhita as per the recent way, but that will fulfill the purpose only halfway, because the method adopted by the recent authors, means Ashtanga Hridayam only, is more relevant even nowadays also. And there was a purpose in writing them. If Charaka Samhita is explaining through the different Chatushka he has made a plan, and it is all time, it is applicable only. And if we try to make any changes in it, it will not, definitely it will not help in any way. And we must actually learn the way it should be written. And without knowing the way it is written, if we try to make a modification, definitely it will spoil. And if we see, Ashtanga Hridayam was written like it was like Sara. It was taken from the other Shastra, and it was written like that. So even Vagbhat also did not go and make distractions in Charaka or Sushruta Samhita. Instead, he wrote his own literature, his own book, Ashtanga Hridayam. So there also he didn't make a change. Instead, he made another book. So any effort in changing that, instead of that, if you want to write one more literature, it is better go for a new literature, not to spoil that previous one. So we should be studying as such.
Thank you, sir. Next question is like this. Among the Samhita, which Samhita is best according to your experience?
So this is not actually, this is mm, difficult to answer, for a reason that all Samhitas are good in that way. So it was rightly identified as Brihatri. All the three Samhitas are really good. So Charaka, in the way of Chikitsa, it is really really good. As a Sharira explanation, Sushruta is good. As a Sutra explanation, Vagbhata is good. So personal experience way, personally, if you're because you asked it, uh, very effective in treatment was Charaka only, very effective in treatment. But the problem I faced was some dravyas are not available, or some drugs are not identifiable, because if some drug is mentioned, it has a multiple synonyms, and we fail to recognize what it was. So that way, it was quite difficult. Other way, the the drugs given, or the combination given in Charaka Samhita, among those drugs, if one or two are missed also, the remaining content was also much effective only. So that way, Chikitsa was really, Charaka Samhita was really effective in treating the patient. And also, while explaining, understanding any Sharira part, Sushruta was really, really excellent in understanding the Sharira part. But as such, in applicability and understanding, because the Vagbhata is much recent one, uh, I feel personally that Vagbhata was more easier, that Ashtanga Hridaya in particular, more easier. But certain descriptions which are not understandable by Ashtanga Hridayam was made clear in Ashtanga Sangraha. There was one more book, if the students know heard about it, Ashtanga Sangraha is there one more book which is much more informative. So the simplicity of Ashtanga Sangraha and superiority of Charaka Samhita. So both are clubbed together and we can use it. So Ashtanga Sangraha was really, really good. And Ashtanga Hridaya is simpler, further simpler, but Ashtanga Sangraha was much more proficient. This is my experience.
Thank you, sir. One last question. The size or the content of Samhitas got reduced through ages. Example, Charaka Samhita to Ashtanga Hridaya. Could you please explain why?
I could not get it. Size.
Number of shlokas, sir. Continue.
No, that is the way they are taking it up. So Charaka, compared to that, Sushruta Samhita has got 9,000 plus shlokas. So compared to that, actually, and more of a gadya, it is explained in Sushruta Samhita, whereas more of that shloka, it was in Vagbhata Samhita, Ashtanga Hridayam. So number of shlokas may differ because the way they are explaining they have their own method of explaining. Like Sushruta in Sutrasthana only he speaks about Vrana, Vrana Prashna, Vranitopasana and etc. Whereas Charaka Samhita doesn't do all those things. He explains more of a like Chatushka, he has made it and he explains in his own way. Whereas Vagbata places it in a different place. For example, in first chapter of Ashtanga, we see that overall the patient should not be treated. Tyajedartham Bishak Bhupaihi Dvishtam Tesham Disham Disham. Like that, it is explained in first chapter. Whereas similar explanation we find it in Siddhisthana of Charaka Samhita, while explaining about who should not be treated, Yogya and Ayogya of Panchakarma. While explaining it, he speaks about which patient should not be treated, whom should be treated. Like that, he explains. He takes up the explanation there. Whereas Vagbata brings it to the Sutrasthana itself because that should be generally applicable in all. So Vagbata sees it as the necessity in screening when we are taking up the Panchakarma, whereas Vagbata sees it as the essentiality in Sutrasthana only, and he wants to make it aware that this is a basic information. While treating any patient, generally a person should know. So like that, they have their own way of explaining. Hence, the shloka number also differs, and like chapter numbers also differs. Of course, Vagbata Ashtanga Hridaya as a total, it has 120 chapters only. Charak also has got 120 chapters only altogether, but Sushruta has more than that one. So their necessity of explaining how they have followed the method, that made them to have a difference in their number of chapters. However, the chapter number in Charaka as well as Vagbata, that is Ashtanga Hridaya, is similar, whereas Ashtanga Sangraha has got little more number of chapters. So Sushruta has much more. So the way they approach in their own timeline as well as their own way of narration has made it the different. And also, if we see, Vagbata has simplified some shlokas. So if it is a 3-line shloka, 2-line shloka from the Charaka, Vagbata has made it as a 1-line shloka. So such simplification also he has made it. Like for example, the the dosha, which is tatrasthascha vilambante kadachinna sameritaha nadesha kala kupyanti bhuyo hetu pratikshana. Like the 2-line shloka is explained in Charaka, whereas Vagbata has made it tatrasthascha vilamberan bhuyo hetu pratikshana. Like that, only 1 line he has made it. So like that, there is a difference between their approach. Sometimes the simplification, if it doesn't convey the meaning, we will go to the Anya Shastra, that is Charaka Samhita, and we can understand the description of that, and it will be more clear. That is the reason we have to see the different Shastra. We have to read the different Shastra. Only one Shastra, if we read, sometimes it may not be fully satisfiable. So we are going for another Shastra, though it is complete in itself only, but because of our understanding, we have to go for another Shastra.
So thanks for your cooperation. It was a wonderful presentation, sir. Thanks you, Nagesh, sir, for taking the time to share knowledgeable and giving our real life examples. It was your valuable time for giving us your time, sir. Now let's welcome Dr. Radhika TFTP ma'am, Professor and HOD Department of Roga Nidana, SRAMC, to share her words about this session and for the facilitation and vote of thanks.
Thank you, Vijayalakshmi. My sincere gratitude towards Dr. Sri Nagesh sir for his enlightening speech on Samhita Adhyayana, hurdles and solutions. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Adarsh sir and Dr. Vinita Mol ma'am for arranging this webinar. Thank you, sir and ma'am. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Shripati E. Nagul sir, for his valuable guidance and support. I like to thank all the HODs and teaching faculty for your eminent presence and support. Thank you. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all our beloved students for your gracious presence. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I have one doubt, sir.
Help.
We are finding some confusions in Charaka Samhita. For example, sir, in 8th chapter of Sutrasthana, under Sadruta, Trihi Pakshasya Kesha Shmashu Loma Nakan Samharet. The Acharya told that, sir. And again in Vimanasthana 8th chapter, while telling the features of students, Mashu Dharana is told, sir. In like that manner, sir, how it should be taken and in which manner it should be understood, sir?
That is for Shishya, no? For Adhyayana Nirata person. For Adhyayana Vidhi, when it is explained, it is given like that. Whereas this description is for a general description. This is applicable for all others. While going for Adhyayana, then that is applicable, which is explained in Vimanasthana. Whereas what it is explained in this Sutrasthana in Sadvrutta, this is general description of all other people. Like 3 times it has to be done in a Paksha. That is what Prakritartha we said during the description. Prakritartha means where it is explained and which Prakaran it is explained, as per that only it should be applicable. If that is applicable, if that is explained in Adhyayana Vidhi, then it should be for Adhyayana purpose that is applicable. Whereas this is explained in Indriyopakramaniya, it is explained as a Sadvrutta, then as a Sadvrutta adoptable by general public, that is given there. So contextually, that meaning should be understood like that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for your precious time. This webinar series will be continued in the coming months also. We all need your active participation. सर्वेभ्यः सुखिनः सन्तु, सर्वेभ्यः निरामयाः सन्तु, सर्वेभ्यः भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. May everyone be happy, may everyone be healthy, everyone see goodness, may no one experience sorrow.
Thank you once again for all of you present here. Now I request all of you to stand and give some respect to our national anthem.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
You can leave now, Dr. Adarsh. You can leave. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.